Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Beat the Clock podcast. My name is Michelle Rubio-Garcia, and I am here to help you grow. Through the many timed interviews I'll be having, all guests will answer 4 time-specific questions. By answering these questions honestly, we hope to show you how each moment connects to the next. Whether they are entrepreneurs or thought leaders, all are invited to sit down, chat with me, and show you a realistic depiction of success. By doing so, we hope to change your mind and empower you to beat the clock. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beat the Clock. This is episode 15, and whether you're new or you're coming back, thank you so much. If you're new, it's an investment, and it's kind of a little weird to hear something for the first time, and you're not sure how you feel about it, so thanks so much for taking that risk. It's small, but it's noteworthy. And then if you're coming back, thank you so much for investing in this long term. So I say this more often now in intros because I really do feel very grateful for your ears and for your attention, because honestly, it's been harder to make this podcast with so many things going on in my life. And I don't know what to say. I just really appreciate you guys, and I'm showing up for you. And if nobody's listening, I'm showing up for my why, and because I believe in myself, and you should too. With that being said, it's time for BTC affirmations. We love to do that here on this show. They're the same 3 every single time. So say them with me. Take a deep breath. I trust myself. That's number 1. So again, it's about ownership and it's about confidence. Take a minute. Number 2, my time is valuable. And I like to say that, guys, because when you're saying your time is valuable, you're saying you are valuable. And your efforts are valuable. And finally, number 3, I can control how I use my time today. So pause this, put on some music, close your eyes, do whatever you have to do. But know that these are not just random words, guys. I literally took, like a whole week to figure out and kind of pinpoint what I wanted to give you guys. And it's for a reason. These are, again, proclaiming ownership, proclaiming confidence, proclaiming that everything is intentional. And that's what I hope for you. So speaking of intention, my whole thing with this podcast has been to make it international. That's been my intention. I want worldwide change. So I'm going to speak to Anton. She is in the airline industry. She also does travel, planning, and then she has a podcast. So she's from London. Let's hear, and you'll tell right away. And the timer starts now. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Beat the Clock. I am here with BTC's first international interview, and I'm so honored to have Anton here with me. Hi, Anne.
Hey, Michelle. Thank you for having me. Feel so honored.
And if you guys can't tell, she is from London, or where?
I'm from London.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have her on. Honestly, meeting from Instagram, she seems to be a kindred spirit in that she loves to travel too. So I'm totally about talking to other travelers. And again, I'm happy that she's here. So Anne, this was a little surprise. I didn't want to tell you before we prep, but something that I like to do with every single guest is that I like to kind of like scan, research, if you will, and give them a little phrase that I think describes them from what I see, right?
And so, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, and I know you have a lot of things, you wear a lot of hats, but when you strip all that down, I kind of like to just get to the core of you in a phrase. So for you, Anne, I really see you as like a box breaker. So a lot of us like to live inside of a box, and we like to just live in a comfortable career, a comfortable journey in life. And I feel like you're doing such cool things, and you're just throwing that box away, setting it on fire, and kicking it to the curb. Would you agree?
I think I would. I think if I look back on everything I've achieved so far and where I'm going and my goals, I definitely am someone who tries to break the norm.
Yeah.
I agree. Well done for that. Even I don't know. I was like, I think I'd take that as a compliment. So, I like that. So thank you.
I love box breakers. That's why I reached out to you. So, okay, we're going to jump right into question number 1. And you're one of the few that with the format change. So there's a little bit of pressure, but I know you'll do very well. Okay, so number 1, Who were you? So before the season of your life, we'll get to who you are now. What guided you to this point?
God, I don't know. So the pressure. Okay, so a quick background about me. So I studied aviation management at university because I just love planes and the aviation industry. I had a thing for them since I was 6. I just always wanted to be a pilot. Wanted to be a pilot because they get to travel firstly, and also majority of the pilots at the time were all male, so it was a very male oriented industry, and I wanted to be that person like, no, girls can do it too.
That's right.
So that was my dream. My dream was because I wanted to break the glass ceiling, but becoming a pilot isn't exactly cheap. It's very expensive, and I had a lot of other stuff in between that came my way. So I didn't, but that's not to say I might not be in the future.
Right.
Because I'm still young, right?
Yes.
I like to think I'm young.
No, yes.
I like to think I'm young.
Because if you're not young, then I'm ancient.
No.
So.
So and then I went to uni and I studied aviation, graduated. And then I went and lived in Qatar for 9 months. That was very out of the norm. It was as an Asian girl, it took a lot of work to convince my parents to let me go, a lot of waterworks, but I'm very, very fortunate that I have parents who are very supportive, especially when it comes to my career and my life anyway. They are immensely supportive. So even though it took a lot of waterworks and everything, they were like, okay, that's what you want to do. So I went to the Middle East in the hope of trying to get into the aviation industry, like, because the Emirates, Qatar Airways and Etihad, they were like the leading airlines, right?
That's what I was going to say, right?
I wanted to get my foot into the door, but however that proved to be hard. I worked in hospitality for like 9 months and it was amazing. There was learning. I just love learning different cultures, learning about different cultures. So it was a whole new experience, living there. It was hard work, but I was in a position to experience both lives. Whereas like, the lavish Arab party, the luxury life that they have as well as like the hard work, the expats that go then, oh my God, you would just not believe the amount of, like, it was just foreign to me. I was like, this is, some of the stuff, I was like, this is illegal. When I say this is illegal, I meant like they were working 16 hours, I was working 16 hours, and they have like 1 day off a week. And here in the UK, we have 2 days off, like we have 2 days off no matter what.
Right.
And you work like 8 hours a day. So, those long hours and that 1 day off a week was just very alien to me. I'm like, how can anyone function with 1 day off? I'm working ridiculous hours. And I also saw like, there were people coming from like Asian countries and how they, their salary wasn't even that much, yet whatever they earned, they sent back home. That was like a whole new, like, eye-opening experience for me. Like, I heard my parents talk about that stuff, but actually seeing it is very different to hearing about it. So I think definitely that experience abroad really humbled me, because I was born and brought up in London. Everything my parents made sure me and my sisters always had something. We always had a roof over our heads. They didn't show us their struggles.
Right.
But that's every parent, right? They don't want to show their kids their struggles, but then going out there and experiencing it, it was a very humbling experience. But it was, I made so many like friends from around the world. It was just beautiful. And then I came back, and then I landed my job in my dream industry, obviously. So I work for an airline at the moment. I work in airworthiness, and so I was working in airworthiness right up until COVID hit. Well, I will be going back next month, but okay. So that's who I was so far.
So we have about 2.5 minutes, so you're doing pretty good on time. So two questions that I want to ask you are, if you felt that at age 6 you wanted to pursue this pilot dream, and what kind of kept you motivated to continue along that? Because it wasn't obviously your parents that maybe gave you some problems, right? But I'm sure somewhere along the line.
My parents didn't believe, I'll be honest, my parents were like, you're a girl, this ain't gonna be, the right kind of career for you. Because
Right.
for them, they're like, you go to uni, you graduate, you get a career, and then you get married, and then you settle down, and you have kids, and it's a typical Asian thing. Whereas I
Very
was
linear.
like, yeah, I was like, I'm not really thinking about marriage. Like, I had this conversation. I dragged my dad to every talk, any like pilot talk. I mean, those pilot schooling talks. Any talks, any show, I dragged my dad. My dad would always come. And then there was one of them where he was like, yeah, I don't know. Because I really wanted to go to piloting school. And he was like, oh, it's all good, but when you think about life, I'm not sure if this is the one for you. And I was like, Dad, I really don't care about that right now.
Yeah.
I want my career. Um, I don't know what kept me motivated. I think the fact that I've always just wanted to be different or wanted to do something different and not just follow the norm. I think deep inside I had that, even though I still abided by the social norms or what I was meant to be like
Mm-hmm.
for an Asian girl. You know what I mean?
But I mean, the beautiful part, at least for me in my 20s, has been that I really got to kind of push all those things aside, because I come from a very traditional Hispanic background, and I feel like the Asian and Hispanic backgrounds are just both at their core very traditional. So
Yeah.
and kind of like, keep your head down and just work at your own pace so you can be stable. And it's really cool in our 20s after we go to uni or whatever to be able to explore all these things that were in our heads and kind of make them real. So you are actually doing good on time. You didn't pass the clock there. So I'm going to restart it. We're going into question 2. So who are you now? You cut it off right at the perfect time. And so what's it been like for you? I know that you also are interested in entrepreneurship. You also started a podcast. So let's talk about all those things. You have about 7.5 minutes. So what's all that like?
Okay, so yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I started my travel business last year.
Mm-hmm.
I just love traveling, and I was doing my whole 9 to 5 job, but I knew there was something more to me than just my typical. I think I was one day I was lying in bed and I was thinking, okay, I've done everything that I was supposed to do: go to uni, graduate, get a job in the industry. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Now what? There's so much more to me. I know there's so much more to me, but I just didn't know what. And then I was scrolling through like Instagram, and then I came across like my mentor now. I
Cool.
came across her page, and she's in the industry as well, travel business, and I just asked her what all this was about, because I love travel and I was traveling anyway. And she told me more, and then I was like, yep, sign me up. Like, I am ready. I am coming. I am doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes,
And
me too.
I think that was because of the people around me, right? So the people around me growing up were kind of entrepreneurs. I saw like my dad had his own businesses growing, like I saw him have his own business growing up. My family members, so I've always wanted to do something. And right from little, when I was actually a kid, my parents always used to say, like, do your get your job, but my parents always said one income isn't enough. Like, they'd always, when they talk about it, they'd always say, you need at least like more than one stream of income. And that's when I was like, oh. So from a young age, that seed was planted into my head. So I've
That's
always
really
thought,
cool. And I don't know if
yeah.
you've ever told your parents that, but like for me, like we were talking about in our prep, this is like a whole new world for me because I was told one only, like just really work at it. And I think my parents had the entrepreneurial, I'll call it hustle, but they didn't have the opportunity to kind of try their own ventures because they got pregnant so young. So that's really cool that they did that for you. That's awesome.
No, yeah, they said, you need your 9 to 5 job. There was, you need your 9 to 5 job. You need to go to uni. You need to get your 9 to 5 job, work at it, and then, start something. But then, because I've grown up listening to it, I thought I genuinely thought I would start something once I'm like past 35, because you would need some kind of capital, right? And but that's the beauty of my business. The business I have now, I didn't need that much capital to start it, but I'm making it just goes on.
So what do you do exactly? Like you're like a travel consultant or an agent or?
So I'm an independent travel agent.
Cool.
So that's literally what I do, independent travel agent. So book holidays for myself, for my family members, and I love traveling anyway, so it was just a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, it's a nice marriage to what you're already doing. So let's talk about the podcast. So that's something that you just started. It's a baby we were talking about, and mine is too. It's just a slightly older baby. So what's it been like just kind of getting into that space? Because it's kind of nerve-wracking to get on a mic. I love to talk, but then you put a mic in front of you and you press record, and it can be nerve-wracking. So what's the experience been like?
Honestly. So with the podcast, how it's born, so I have my friend, I do it with my friend Abby, and she's also my business partner as well. We have a lot of in-depth conversations. The thing with this business is, since I've started this business, I've done a lot of I just love self-development. I've devoured so many self-development books. I listen to so many other podcasts and watch YouTube videos, and I just love self-development. And me and Abby have a lot of in-depth conversations. And one day we were having it, and it was just really cool. And in my head, the day before, she said, I actually thought it would be so cool to what would it be? It would be really cool to have a podcast, but I never really spoke it because I was like, that is something big, like a podcast is massive. It's not, I don't know if I'll ever, but it was a passing thought in my head. Next day we were talking, and she goes, do you know what would be really cool if we started a podcast? And I went, oh my God.
Yeah, and there's real power, right, to saying it out loud, because once you say it out loud, it becomes a little more real, I think.
And the thing with both of us is, I think a lot of stuff, but I don't say it. It just, and whatever I think, she actually says. So I'm like, oh my God, I literally thought this. I don't even know if I told her this, but she kind of voices what I think. And that's how it really started, because we were like, oh, we have so many in-depth conversations. What would it, she's literally said, what would it be like? Could you imagine a fly on the wall listening to our conversations?
Yeah, that's what they are.
What would it be like? And that's how it really started.
And so what's it called?
It's called Find Your Spark.
Cool.
So we're both self-development junkies, and it's for the main purpose of our listeners is to know that whatever happens, there is more to you, and it's about finding your spark, and that through whatever topics we talk about, we hope that our listeners could find their little spark in whatever area it is.
And we were talking about that before when we prepped. I just feel like even with you, I really love how you phrased that. It was a passing thought, and it was just something I was kind of whispering to myself, and I didn't want to say it. And I think that's so important to tell people, because what you're feeling in your head or thinking in your head is valid, and it's something that you can actually create and carve out, and it can make a difference. Because now, since you took initiative on this, you're gonna impact. I'm not saying you might, I'm saying you're going to impact people. And even if it's just one person, some people will never know the joy of impacting one life because they just keep those thoughts in their head. So that's really cool.
Yeah, we hope to. And that's another thing. We were saying how in our conversations, I said, this is how I felt regarding whatever. And she was like, there are so many other people who could have felt the same, but you just, because I was like, I didn't know this and this person was going through this and this, and I was going through exactly that. Do you know what I mean? So you don't know, some people just listening to us could find solace or comfort in knowing that, oh no, I'm not the only one like this or in this situation. So yeah.
I don't know. Should we count that?
Time and time.
You said yes.
I said so, yeah. I said so, yeah.
No, yeah, I think we'll say that you did all right. So question number 3. So with your entrepreneurship journey and with your self-development journey, what is the plan? So who will you be in a couple of years? You can say just short term, however you want to interpret that. What are you going to keep chasing and what are you going to keep exploring?
I have big plans for me that it scares me to talk about it.
Let's hear it.
Joking. No, I want to be someone who has achieved my personal goals, whatever I've set out to achieve, be financially stable, have the time freedom and have the financial freedom to do whatever I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also one thing, the reason why I want to be financially free is also because I want to do whatever I want to do. And I want to spend my money however I want to spend it. And one of my main reasons to spend, like ways of wanting to spend my money, is giving back.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give back to the communities back home where my parents are from. My parents are from Sri Lanka. Mm-hmm. And I really want to like give back to the kids, or in whatever form it is, building homes or building schools or whatever it is, because I want others to have the opportunity that, I want others to know that they can have the opportunity to do whatever they want to do. And Sri Lanka, there's a long history of like war and everything. There's been a civil war and everything. So yeah, and I feel very privileged to be born here in London. And I want to use my privilege the right way and give back. So that's really why I want to be, that's why I work so hard to be like, I need to be financially independent so that I can spend my money however I want to spend it and do whatever I want with my money without no one asking me why. Mm-hmm. or and I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck either.
Right.
Because that is just not the life.
I don't know about you, and I don't know if you want to say, but you don't have to say dollar amounts. Do you have uni debt?
Sorry?
Like
uni debt, yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah,
I do. And so like with all these things that I'm jumping into, and I've never said this out loud publicly, so it's kind of scary too, but I want to have at least 4 streams of income. And so with that, I want to graduate because I'm currently pursuing a PhD. I want to graduate with my PhD debt-free from all 3 degrees, right? Because I have not made one single payment to my student loans because I've always been in school. I've just deferred them. And so seeing the number get bigger is scary. And it's like, I don't want to be a slave to that number. No. Because if it gets too big, that's how people really feel trapped, and that's why they don't want to go and explore, because it's like they feel this humongous weight holding them down.
Yeah, no, honestly, you're 100% right, and I agree with you. I think we're living in a time as well where anything is really possible. We've got the internet and you can literally learn whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. Like there are people making stupid money out of anything, like just from making YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. From they're monetizing everything. So there's like literally no reason as to why you can't find something out there,
right,
that you're passionate about as well.
And one of the YouTubers that I've been kind of gravitating towards, and I'm never one to like watch YouTube, but I mean now we have time, right? She was saying that like if you want to describe the environment of YouTube, it's just really about thinking a bit like high school, I guess, and like a giant cafeteria, and some people are gonna like you and some are not, and you're gonna have your little niche, and that's okay, because a lot of people get intimidated to start YouTube channels because they're like, there's no way I'm ever gonna make that much money, or there's no way I'm gonna find my group. But even your group, even if it's small, let's say 100K, quote unquote, that's small, that could still be highly lucrative because they're going to be very engaged fans, and that's going to be something that you can monetize and live off of. So
yeah, I mean, I think this is one thing that puts a lot of people off. Like they always look at the end goal and they want the end, but you have to start somewhere to reach that goal, right? Just start it, just do it. You don't know what might come. You might blow up overnight.
Yeah,
Who
and
knows?
and I think once you take that first step, like you said, you just released your first episode. The first one is the scariest, and then after that, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, it's just about
Yeah,
crossing that bridge mentally, and then you're
yeah.
in the rhythm of things. So,
Don't think of the end goal. Just break down you have your end goal, but then break that down into mini goals and
mhm.
just try and, reach the little milestones first. And before you know it, you would have reached your end goal without even realizing.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm doing all of that, and that's how I keep myself motivated. Because sometimes it feels silly to
Yeah.
post when you see like low engagement, or sometimes it feels like a little thirsty, I guess, to be asking for everybody to share your stuff. Or,
Yeah.
but it's like just like you're saying from earlier, humbling yourself and just riding the wave, and wherever it's going to take you, you got to be willing to put in the work, because who's not to say all those shameless plugs will lead to something even bigger than you imagined. So um,
Yeah.
it's cool.
That's what, I used to be that person. I used to think twice about posting. I wouldn't post for months. And I'd think, oh, what would people think if I post this or that? And but now I got to a point where I genuinely just do it for myself. I just don't care. I'm gonna post this. Like, I don't care how many likes it gets. Sometimes I know certain posts won't get that many likes, but I genuinely don't care. I'm just gonna post.
Yeah, and honestly, I
um,
mean, because you kind of had that bravery, that's why I found you, because I liked all your posts, and I didn't actually heart any, but I was like, man, this girl's super cool. Let me hit
oh,
her up and let me see what's gonna happen here. So, I mean, you never
thank
know, right? You
you.
never know what you're gonna step into when you're just brave. Like even right now, before I got on this conversation with you, I was at a meeting for work, and before I would have felt quiet or shy to say, like, give a little pep talk, I guess. And I was like, who cares? Like, why should I be embarrassed of spreading positive energy? And I was like,
Yeah,
and people are gonna talk anyways. So, okay,
exactly.
we are working nicely. We're in our final question. Look, you were good on
Oh,
time.
well, wait a
I
second.
keep showing you to reassure you. Okay, final one. So we're already kind of in that sphere. So let's just land the plane, so to speak. And you're in aviation, so that works kind of cool. Um, so how can listeners avoid clocking out? We're alluding to it a lot. So just kind of jump in right before you're ready. Anything else that you kind of want to tell our listeners?
How to avoid fucking out? I think it's to wake up every day and know work to have goals first of all, and wake up every day and know what your goals are. Think of your goals, why everyone has a why, right? Why they are doing the things they are doing, and your why has to be so strong. Like, I started this travel business, and yeah, I started it off as a like a something that I could just make extra income of,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very lucrative. Like, I can earn. There are the potential to earn in this business is just mind blowing. So, but to get to that stage, I need to work really hard, and it requires a lot of hard work. But my why is what's going to keep me consistent and what's going to help, like, actually make me do all that work. So always remember, like, why you are doing things or why you started a particular thing, because that's what's going to keep you going. And definitely invest in yourself. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, if you
Yes.
don't invest in yourself, you are not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, invest in yourself. That requires, like, read books, watch motivational videos, listen to motivational podcasts, anything to improve yourself. And don't think twice about investing in yourself. And I think that's one big thing that I've changed about me.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I used to put myself last, and I'd never, like, I'd ever put everyone before me. And that's how you get literally drained. You get drained when you're just giving out your energy, and you're just giving and giving and giving, and you're not getting anything. honestly invest in yourself, because that's the best investment ever.
And I
And
mean, just to add to that, Anne, I mean, when we pour or give into others, but we are not doing it out of our why, we, like you're saying, you feel exhausted. But when you're pouring into others with your why in mind, it's like it's also life-giving to you. So
yeah,
the work is so different and so much more satisfying because you're part of the equation. Like you're not forgetting about yourself. You're doing everything you can to
yeah.
also have yourself along for the ride. I don't know how to explain that the way it's in my
Like
head.
you can't pour into other people's cup without pouring into your cup first.
Right.
Unless your cup is full, you can't pour into others. So make sure your cup is always full. And like you said, and that's also to do with, like, when you give because you want to give,
Mm-hmm.
that just brings a whole nother satisfaction. And it's like money can't buy that. Nothing can buy that. It's just when you make someone else happy, or you can see, like, bring joy to someone else without expectation, that is just, you cannot put a price on that.
Yeah. And I mean, everything that you're doing is such a natural extension, I think, of yourself. And I think people are just scared to do that, right? And the same for me. Like everything I'm doing is something that I'll repeat, that which is what you said. I wish I would have had this growing up, or I wish someone would have voiced this because I felt this way. It's nothing that's new, but it feels new to everybody else because I kept it in my head. So it's just
Yeah,
about, again, being brave. And I think because your businesses are probably
believing in
thriving
yourself.
because you believe and you love what you're doing. And so that's going to naturally be transferred, and that's going to create such satisfaction for you because you're going to see the love of travel being passed on to others the way you have it. And it's really nice.
Yeah. And also you have, yeah, like you said, you have to believe in yourself, because no one, if you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to believe in you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? So believe in yourself. And guys, you don't, like, I just want to say to your listeners, affirmations are so strong.
Yes,
Like,
they
say
are.
your affirmations every morning. I have a whole morning routine.
What is it?
And
You have 2.5 minutes ish. So
okay,
what is
so
it?
I read this book called Miracle Morning. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Uh-uh.
Miracle Morning. It's a good book. So savers, basically, savers stands for silence, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and scribing.
Cool.
So I'll wake up. I don't exactly do it in that order, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll wake up, and then I will say my affirmations, and I will do my visualization meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will scribe, which is journaling. But
Right.
my journaling's more gratitude journaling. So you have to say, like, gratitude as make sure you practice gratitude every day.
Mm-hmm.
Also grounds you and humbles you.
Yeah.
And then obviously reading is kind of, it doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes reading, 15 minutes reading, or an hour reading, but put some time aside for that personal development. And then
How
the other
much
is
time is your whole
exercise.
morning routine? Like the whole thing?
So at the moment, because I'm at home, it takes me, I would say, like an hour and a half.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good amount of time.
But then once, like, if I start going back into the office, then that will mean I have less time because I have to commute and all that. So you can do these savers in 6 minutes as well. So you could do each like in a minute. I don't know about reading though. But on my commute, I listen to audibles, like, so I download audible books. So
Yeah,
on my journey to work,
that's a good point.
uh,
That like if you can't do it stationary, it can still be part of your morning commute. That it can still be embedded in, I don't know, maybe even
yeah,
your work, right? Like having a little calendar with quotes. Maybe you can't read a full chapter, but you can read like a very fulfilling little quote. It doesn't have to be as complicated, I think, as people are making it out to seem.
no,
Um,
no,
and
but
yeah,
it's,
that savers. That's
yes, so savers. So that's my morning routine, and it sets me up for the day. When I do that, I feel like I have some sort of structure to the day.
Mhm.
If I just, like, don't do that, I feel like I just roll out of bed. Before, I just, like, roll out of bed, have breakfast, and I'm like, okay, what do I do with my life now? Whereas I do this and I sit down and I'm like, okay, today's goals are I need to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you just tick it off. Ticking off your tick list is very satisfying.
It is, yeah.
So,
I do it too,
yeah.
and it feels good.
Yeah. So that's really it.
You did it twice, but like right there. Okay, so I think
Right on dot.
if we really just factor everything in, I think you beat the clock. What do you say, Anne?
I think I beat the clock as
Yeah.
well. Because my so yeah is like my ending.
Period.
When me
Period.
finishing off, yeah. Period.
And how was that for you? Where you started off kind of nervous, but then you got in the flow. What was that like?
Yeah, I was, you know what, I was really nervous because once I start talking, I will just go on and on. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I can keep to the clock trying to answer everything. But I think I did really well considering.
Yeah. You were really nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to fill up a lot of time.
I
And then
know.
no,
I
that
tend
was
to surprise myself a lot.
no, you did good. And again, I'm super happy to meet you. This is our first time we're sitting down and chatting, and I want to kind of reassure everybody in that too, that you never really know what kind of conversations you could strike if you're willing. And where can they find you? What are your Instagram handles? What are
Oh,
the
yes.
businesses? All that good stuff.
So you can find me on Instagram at Anton. So it's ANNEANTONN.
Mm-hmm.
And my Instagram for my podcast is at Find Your Spark podcast. And we're on Spotify as well. So if you type that into Spotify without any spaces,
Mm-hmm.
Find Your Spark podcast, you will find us. So yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Cool. Yeah. And I'll be sure to include
And also, sorry, yeah, no, I forgot one thing. I also have another Instagram called Travel Surgery, and that's more the travel related stuff. So, you know, that's where, again, with a few of my two other business partners, we'll be updating anything travel related. We'll be vlogging our future holidays. So anything travel and travel related you want to talk, you know, you can either slide into my DMs at Anton or slide into Travel Surgery.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about self-development and all that jazz, you can slide into my DMs again or into Find Your Podcast.
Yeah. No, yeah. And sorry, I didn't know if you were going to plug it or not, but I'll put all of that in there in case they didn't get the spelling or whatever. Of course, they could rewind, but I'll just make life easy and it'll just be a direct link. But anything else you want to say, Anne, before we wrap it up?
No, thank you so much for asking me to come on. I feel very privileged and honored. So thank you very much. And I'm going to, this is definitely something I'm going to be prideful of, being your first international interviewee. So yeah.
And thank you so much for obliging, because I mean, it wouldn't have happened had you not said yes. So yeah, guys, that is Anton, and we are clocking out here, but don't clock out in your own life. Thanks.